When I was your age, I remember, being at a banquet like this and having a speaker come up and say, if you try really hard, if you really work hard, you can be anything you want to be in life. And I remember when I was your age thinking, I don't know about that. And I'm here to tell you right now, I'm 34 years old, it's not true. I didn't believe it then, I don't believe it now. The Olympics are next week in Russia. Do you think I could have been an Olympic figure skater? Look at me right now. Do you think no matter how hard I tried, I could have been an Olympic figure skater? No. Or American Idol? I mean, I sing when I'm in the shower, my wife tells me I'm terrible. I couldn't win American Idol no matter how hard I tried, no matter how much time I put into it. So I think that's bogus. What I do think you can be, though, which is really exciting, is you can be your best at whatever you want to be your best at. I was really, really fortunate. At a young age, I knew football was what I wanted to be my best at. I remember my parents taking me to a Penn State game when I was 4 or 5 years old, and I walked into Beaver Stadium, and I looked around, and I just thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be. So I was fortunate. At a really young age, I knew that I loved it. I mean, even back then till now, I miss it every day. And I miss the money a little bit, but I don't really miss the money or the camaraderie. I miss being able to run into another guy as hard as I can and knock him over. It's hilarious every time. So you all have several years. I guess it doesn't apply to the cheerleaders as much, but for the players, at least I hope it doesn't apply to the cheerleaders. But for the players, you guys have several more years with which to do that. Enjoy it. Knock somebody over for me. I mean, at this point, I played 7 years professionally. Now I would pay. I would pay for one more game. Just give me 5 more plays. I would pay for that at this point. But the most important year in my life was 1 year from now for all of you. It was when I was in 8th grade. Because I had an older sister, and she was 4 years older than me. So she was a senior in high school when I was in 8th grade, and it was impactful, because I'll never forget, she was buddies with, she was a cheerleader, my sister was, and a lot of the guys on the high school football team came over, and I'll never forget, they all were saying the same thing. Ross, high school football was so much fun. It was the best experience of my life. I just wish, last summer I put a little bit more time in. Maybe I could have been all county. Or they'd say, if I just skipped a couple of those, social functions and worked a little bit harder, maybe I could have gotten a college scholarship. Those guys regretted that they didn't feel like they had maximized their potential. And I'm in 8th grade, I'm impressionable, I love football. These guys were like my idols. These are the starters in the high school football team. And I remember deciding right then and there, I was not going to say that. I promised myself I was not going to say that. At the time, in 8th grade, I was 5'5", 150, chubby, and my dad is 5'9", 170 pounds. So I did not know this was going to happen. I did not know I was destined for the NFL, but that really wasn't the point. I was not, everybody dreams of playing at Penn State and playing for the Eagles, right? But I never really thought of that realistically, and that was never really my focus. My focus was right then in 8th grade, and I decided I'm not going to say that. When I'm a senior in high school, or if I go on to play in college, or if I go on to the NFL, whatever it is, I'm going to be able to say for the rest of my life that I was the very best I could be at my favorite thing in the world to do. The best I could be at my favorite thing in the world. There's a lot of people that can't say that. You guys are young, so you don't realize that yet. But as you get older, you talk with people and they'll say, well, I wish I would have done this, I wish I would have done that. I don't wish anything. I really don't. Because I decided in 8th grade, I'm going to take this as far as I can. I want to be able to say that whenever it's over. If that meant just starting 1 year from a high school team, I was okay with that. If that meant college or the pros or whatever ended up happening, that's great too. But it was vitally important to me that when I was a senior in high school, I wasn't having any regrets in that regard. And I started lifting weights at least 4 times a week, every week, since the spring of 8th grade. Which, by the way, I've heard people say that stunts your growth. I was 5'6" when I started lifting weights. I'm 6'5" now. So the stunt your growth thing is not, don't let anybody sell you that one, because that does not fly. But at the same time, this is really important. I wasn't at the time, I was somebody that loved school, right? It was more of a competitive thing for me to be better than my buddies. But my sister and all of her friends, they're applying to colleges, right? Now, they were saying the same thing the football players were. Oh man, I didn't get into Penn State. I really wanted to go there. Maybe that 1 year, if 10th grade math, if I had just gotten a B instead of a C, maybe that was the difference. If I put a little more time in history class, social studies, junior year, maybe I could be going, to Villanova. But instead I'm not. And I didn't know what college I wanted to go to. I mean, I just remember thinking at the same time, I'm not going to do that either. I don't know, how smart I'll be or what kind of grades I'll get, but I am not going to be a senior in high school saying, I wish I had put more time into school, maybe I could have gone to a better school. I wasn't going to do that. So I decided in 8th grade to live the rest of my life with no regrets, especially as far as those two things were concerned. And that means I didn't love school, but I knew I did not want to have regrets. So I started plugging away, and I ended up having success in high school. It was great. I ended up becoming a better player than I ever thought I'd be, probably a better student. My dream had always been, I guess, to play for Penn State somewhere, and that didn't happen. I was 230 pounds my senior year of high school, and Penn State did not offer me a scholarship, but I ended up getting full scholarship offers to William & Mary and Delaware and some other schools, and because of football, or in part because of football and my grades, the combination of football and my grades, I was able to have opportunities at Harvard and Princeton, and I elected to go to Princeton, which I think is a really important point that it's still working. That sometimes, if you shoot for the stars, does it not work anymore? All right, sorry. I can be loud like Mike. So sometimes, if you shoot for the stars, you might not get quite as high as you wanted. You might not be playing for Penn State, but I can tell you this much. The higher you shoot, the higher you're going to get. If you set low goals, you're not going to overachieve. If you set high goals, like playing for Penn State maybe, who knows? And maybe you get the opportunities that I was able to get. So again though, that was not really the focus. The focus was to be my personal best. So I had success in high school. I thought I was pretty cool, right? I mean, I'm going to the mall, back when people went to the mall. I'm going to the mall, and I had my leather jacket on, my all-county t-shirt, and I'm walking the hall like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, good. Doing good, all-county. I thought I was pretty hot stuff. And then I go to Princeton, and what a wake-up call, and what a lesson, right? I mean, I'm a freshman, playing football in school, and you'll never believe this, but at Princeton, they make you take a writing class your first semester. And so, like most of the classes there's a lecture where there's anywhere between 30 and 100 students. And then there's what they call precept, which is you and no more than 5 other students and the teacher, AKA nowhere to hide. So for writing class, you had to read a book every week and then talk about it. So, I mean, I'm at Princeton now, and I'm not trying to give anything away for the parents here, but in high school, when it came to reading, I was a big Cliff Notes guy, which don't do that, but I can admit it. So I was thinking, man, I'm gonna have to step up my game. I'm gonna have to, I can do this, right? I'm gonna live my life the same way. It got me here, it got me to Princeton. I'm gonna live my life with no regrets here at Princeton, football and academics. Who knows what that'll be? Maybe I'll start for Princeton, be all Ivy League or whatever. Who knows what grades or GPA I can get. But the whole thing of no regrets, establishing what my priorities were, which was to make sure I maximize my opportunities, I was going to live with no regrets. So this class, reading class, writing class, you have to read a book every week. So literally, picture me, walking to class or walking to practice, and I'm reading a book like this. My head's down, I'm reading it. I remember being in the cafeteria. It was a 250-page book in a week. I remember being at the cafeteria, shoveling food in, reading. I'll never forget, some of my teammates were saying, dude, Tucker loves to read. I said, no, I don't love to read, but I'm here. I'm at Princeton. I got to prove I can do this. I got to prove that I can be this type of guy. So every waking moment, I read that book. And the day in which we finally met 5 other students and me and the teacher to go over the book, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, the 9 o'clock class, and I read the last 52 pages. And I walked in so excited. I mean, I was like, I couldn't, I read the whole book. Ask me anything. I walked in like, all right, cool, ask me anything. What do you got? And I'll never forget, the professor asked the girl next to me, Lisa, what did you think of the novel? And she said, well, the first time I read it, I thought that the book was something of a religious novel and that there was a religious connotation and that the main character was a Christ figure. The second time I read it, though, I realized it was really about the beauty of Mother Earth and nature surrounding us. However, the third and final time I read it, I realized it was really about the British Industrial Revolution of the 19th century. This girl had read the book 3 times. I was like, whoa. And then the professor went around and all the other students were giving somewhat similar answers. They were talking about rereading passages. They were talking about looking for hidden meanings. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm from Reading. I didn't get the memo on hidden meanings or rereading passages. Nobody had told me that you were supposed to do that. So finally it gets around to me and she's like, Ross, what did you think? And I'm like, I gotta be honest with you, I am just thrilled I read the whole book. And she said, okay, well, what did you find most interesting? I'm like, well, I was surprised in chapter 3 when Susie dumped Stephen to go out with Peter. I didn't see that one coming. And so everybody had a big laugh. But so what was the moral of the story? One of the cool things about having success is you get different opportunities. But when you get those different opportunities, it's time to step up your game. And that's what's going to happen for all of you. Whether it's junior high football or middle school football and then freshman football or high school football, the same with academics. It's going to be hard. I can tell you right now, it's going to be hard. But if you just continue to live your life with sports and academics with no regrets, you're going to have the opportunity to excel. And in fact, given the fact that you guys are right here, right now, I think that you will excel. And I think those are things that you can take and live the rest of your life with. But that's my point. And that was the academic part of Princeton. I mean, I thought, football, I thought, that would be easy. Football, I thought, I'm going to Princeton, right? These guys, half of them will have, stereotypical pocket protector with, 8 pens in there. I'm going to run around laying dudes out, right? It wasn't like that. I got my butt kicked by guys that never, looking back on it now, they never should have been doing that to me, ever. So the moral of the story is, number 1, to live your life with no regrets. And to prioritize where you put your time in order to do that. Number 2, when you have some success, it's just time to step up your game. And if you stick with that same foundation, you'll be okay. Now, I think the other point to mention is you're probably looking at me and, the whole Princeton thing and the NFL thing and, boy, what does this guy know? He's got it real rough. I can remember all of the adversity that I had to overcome. I can remember every single time where it wasn't easy. I remember in 8th grade when my best friend got moved up on the basketball team to the freshman team, and I didn't. I remember how that felt. I remember in 10th grade, my goal had been to play high school football. I just wanted to play high school football. Our first game in 10th grade for Wyomissing was at Lansdale Catholic, which I'm sure several of you are familiar with, Lansdale Catholic. So we go there. My 2 best friends are starting in 10th grade. I'm not, but I'm expecting to play. Coach comes onto me to the field before the game. Hey, stay ready. I'm going to get you in there a bunch. Okay, cool. I'm ready. A linebacker. Game goes, close game. I never got on the field. Not one snap. And that had never happened to me. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I thought about like rolling around on the sidelines to get my away white jersey dirty. And I was like, this is embarrassing. I mean, I can't believe I've never played. And I'll never forget, we get home on the long bus back, and the guys are all going to hang out together. I said, no, take me home. So they take me home, and I go home, and my parents are looking at me, and they're a little scared because they didn't really know how I would react. And I ran a mile from my house to the high school field, and I just ran sprints. 10th grade, 15 years old, just ran sprints, just bawling. Because I felt like I put all this time in, and it hadn't paid off. But it did. Eventually it did. You just have to keep doing it. It's not always going to happen for you right away. You just have to keep doing it and keep moving on in that regard. I mean, I remember every single one of these things. I mean, I remember my first day in the NFL. I haven't even graduated from Princeton yet. It's the rookie minicamp, and I'm with the Washington Redskins. And they moved me out to offensive tackle, and I played guard at Princeton. So I'm thinking, okay, I can maybe do this. We have one-on-ones. My one-on-ones, all you have on is the helmet. My one-on-ones were against a guy named LeVar Arrington. And LeVar Arrington, to this day, I played for 5 teams, is the most impressive physical human being I ever played with. He looks like, I mean, he has side neck muscles that haven't even been invented yet. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I'll never forget, I'm playing right tackle, right? And LeVar's out there, and I'm so worried about how fast he is. He'd been the National Player of the Year when we were seniors in high school. And so I kick out real fast. LeVar goes up and under and beats me cleanly. Fatal error. You can't do that. I mean, you can't get beat inside. So I'm thinking, oh man. All right, you do 2 in a row though. So I go again, and I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, I can't get beat inside. No matter what happens, I'm not getting beat inside. So I kick back on him, and he does the same move. He goes up and under, but now I'm waiting for him. And he comes, and he bull rushed me. He puts his helmet. This is the pros. So everything I'm telling you, don't do at home, or even on the practice field. But he puts his helmet right here. We don't have shoulder pads on or anything. And I'm like this, I'm kind of fish out of water, and the only thing I got my hand on was his throat. It's the only thing I grabbed. That's where my hand went, right? I squeezed as hard as I could. I mean, I tried to rip his atoms out. I squeezed as hard as I possibly could. And he stopped, and he looked at me like this, and he walked away. This is my first practice in the NFL. The whole rest of the practice, he's going up to the other guys on the team. Bruce Smith, Darryl Green, and pointing at me and saying stuff. He goes up to Big Daddy Wilkinson, points at me and saying stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is not good, this is not good. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't like this right now. This is not good. We get in the locker room after practice, and LeVar's locker is right next to the showers. And he's still pointing at me and talking about me. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like this is not good. So I grab my towel. I'm thinking now, if he does something now, I don't even have my helmet on. I mean, this is the moneymaker right here. You know? I mean, what am I going to do if I don't even have the helmet on? So I walk, and he says to me, yo, Princeton, as I'm walking by him. And I say, yeah. And I remember thinking what my grandpa told me, which was, my dad had always told me, you know, never throw the first punch. My grandpa said, are you kidding? Throw the first punch, trust me. So I'm sitting there, and LeVar says to me, yo, Princeton. I said, yeah. And I'm literally towel in this hand, fist like this. I said, yeah. He said, going for my throat and stuff, huh? He didn't say stuff, use your imagination. Going for my throat and stuff, huh? I said, yeah. He said, I like that. and gave me a high five. And I thought, this is unbelievable. I mean, because I didn't know how he was going to react, but I learned right then, in that environment, That's how you earn respect. Now, professional football is different from a lot of things, but in that environment, that is how you earn respect. I mean, at the time, I was looking at this guy, he looks like he could be the heavyweight champion of the world. And for Wyomissing and Princeton, I thought I was pretty tough. You know, I was tough compared to Wyomissing and Princeton. But how do you really know until someone like that challenges you? Just like for each and every one of you, with whatever sports you're playing, with the next level of junior high sports or high school sports, if you have a chance to play in college, or when you get to school and you're taking honors classes, or the next math, or maybe it's AP classes, how do you know how well you can do unless you're in that environment? You don't until you see how you react. Next year in 8th grade, the year after that, when you start to move towards the high school, grab it by the throat. Not literally, but grab it by the throat. The last thing that I always like to mention, and I think this is really, really important to tie everything together, and that is talking about dreams and goals. And I want everybody to do me a favor. I want everybody, including the parents, take a second, shut your eyes, and think about your dream and your goal. Think about any dream or goal. Shut your eyes, go ahead, I'll give you a couple seconds. Think about whatever it is in your mind right now that's your dream, or maybe a parent, just your next goal, whatever it is, think of it. Now when you have it, you can look up. Now here's what I want to know. What did you do this week to get closer to achieving that goal? Or to get closer to achieving that dream? Better yet, what did you do today? I get a chance to speak to groups all the time. And almost everybody I found in life has a dream or a goal. Very few of them are actually taking active steps towards those dreams and goals. The one thing I can tell you about achieving cool things is that I promise, especially all the young people in here, I promise it's not just going to happen. It's not. You have to make it happen. And in fact, whatever you just thought of when you shut your eyes, that has to be more important to you than it is to anybody else. Any successful people I've been around, whether it's the top broadcasters, Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels and the guys that you see on TV, or I was teammates with Tom Brady, London Fletcher, started 250 straight games at linebacker in the NFL, which is unbelievable. The one common trait I have found, Tom Brady is ridiculously slow. We used to make fun of him when he does agility drills. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's bad. But he is so competitive. It's more important, if you see him yelling, I'm not advocating yelling, but you see when he gets upset on the sideline, it's because it's that important to him. It's because he cares that much. The same for London Fletcher. London Fletcher played 250 straight games. He's 5'9". 250 straight games at linebacker in the NFL at 5'9". The only thing I can tell you is that it has to happen on your own. I have parents that ask me to talk to their kids all the time because their kids have tremendous potential. I gotta be honest with you, I never do it. I never do it. Because if I have to talk to your child, then they don't have what it takes to get where you want them to go. My parents had to calm me down. My parents had to try to diversify my interests. I mean, starting in 8th grade, I would jog to school dribbling and basketball, because those are my two sports, basketball and football. Jog to school dribbling and basketball and shower at school, because that was A, my workout, and B, me being able to get my dribbling practice in. It's got to be more important to you than it is to anybody else. And the way you can do that is by living your life with no regrets and prioritizing. So those are my messages. Please, 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 I don't want, you guys are at the perfect age. I don't want any of you to have regrets. Make the decision right now. And if you want to, write down, when you get home tonight, write down what that dream or that goal is, and then write down something you can do every day or something you can do every week to take an active step towards those dreams or goals. I still do that. I'm 34, I still do that. I got a bunch of dreams and goals. I write down what they are. I write down what I need to do each week to get there. I look at that list every night when I go to bed. Some days I don't feel great about it. I make darn sure that I make up for it the next day. So no regrets, active steps towards your dreams and goals. That's what I want for all of you more than anything else. And you know what? The fact that you're here right now tells me you're probably doing a lot of those things. I do want to open it up to some questions because I know you have some. The first one's always the tough.